Absolutely. I'm Beth Lynch, your host, medium, and intuitive consultant, and founder of Inner Light Teachings. And we are here live every other Tuesday evening, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and where we discuss a lot of things. We share wisdom, insight with you on a lot of the experiences that I've had as a medium, connecting to the spirit world and all the, I think, inspiring and humbling things that they have taught me along the way the last 18 years. And so we pretty much cover everything between life, death, and everything in between. We do have a really special guest here tonight, Jake Ducey, and he is author of Into the Wind, and I highly recommend this book, and I think by the end of this show, you will have gotten yourself a copy, and it's available Amazon.com and on JakeDucey.com. We will be getting with Jake very soon, but for right now, I want everyone to just take a nice deep breath. Close your eyes if you can safely. And then go into another nice breath, slow. And just relax around your eyes, your cheekbones. Take another deep breath. And we come together in light. We come together as one to inspire, to heal, to learn, and to even laugh. So let us just take a nice deep breath and open our eyes. Here we are, girls. Christine is here tonight, Legat, as you know her from Mendy and Meditation last week. And she will be checking the Inner Lately page on Facebook and taking your questions. We will not be taking calls tonight because Jake is waiting in the wings to be brought on. And he will be answering your questions via Facebook. And Christine will pass that along. So please don't hesitate to jump on the Inner Lately page, and we'll do all that. We want to now welcome Jake Ducey. Hi, Jake.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you for coming on. And again, here is the book. And I have to tell you, I don't know if you got the text that I sent. And I said, Jake, as I'm sitting here doing my Eastern World pedicure and reading from my Kindle, I finished the book, and I was like, no, it's not ended, is it? And it just made me think, book 2, Jake, book 2, okay? That's all I'm going to say. I'm already waiting. It was just so...
Thank you.
The end, I mean, I don't want to jump to an ending before we tap in the beginning and other things that we're going to talk about, but it really just left me with this breath of, I was inspired, I was, what's next? And I guess that's a great thing for an author, right? That someone would feel that way. So,
and
I,
good response.
Yes, I have a feeling I'm not the only one that feels that way. But I truly, because with those Kindles, you don't know really where you are in the book, so I really didn't know where I was. But again, welcome to the show, and we do have some questions that we want to put out for you. But first, I'd like you to maybe just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and anything you want to share, and then we'll start giving you the questions.
Okay, awesome. Well, my name is Jake Ducey. I'm a 21-year-old author. My book, Into the Wind, just came out April 16th, and it's right now. It's a 5-star review and a top seller in all its categories on Amazon, and it's the story that all of us are going through, to give up the risk that most of us are gambling on, the risk that we can buy the freedom to do what we want later in life after we made enough money or after we pleased enough people. And for me, I was playing college basketball and living this life that wasn't mine. And so I often compromised with excessive partying, prescription pills, and other drugs. And like most of us, these books started coming to me that we can do anything, anything's possible. And while I sat in my college classroom as a 19-year-old, as a freshman, and became aware that, we don't really have another 100 years the way the human civilization is going unless we make some changes in the way that we're living. And I realized that that's not up to the president, the politicians, the governments to make the change. It's up to we, the people. It's up to us. And while I sat there reading these books that anything is possible, I realized most of us are just learning it. We're just aware. We're aware of the possibilities. We're aware of what exists for us, what's possible for how we can influence the world. But we leave it at that. There's a difference between learning it and living it, and I realized I needed to live it. And so I dropped out of school after 3 semesters in college basketball, and I traveled around the world without a map to prove that when we follow our heart, anything's possible.
Well,
that is the result of the book Into the Wind. And
you did an amazing job doing it. I guess that's probably maybe not what you would have called it along the way. I was, I read, just how you went into areas of the world that were definitely not, is very primitive, very simple, I guess are the words, and you felt that your humbleness. I mean, I think you were already a humble person, more than you know, maybe, but you were so humbled. And when you read the book and you go through the stories with you, you really feel you're there. And, the people that you touched and the simplicity. And I think as a species, we've kind of gotten so complicated. And I often know in my channelings that I have been told, you've evolved as a species technically, but not spiritually, and you are now in the consequence of this. And, it's words I heard once, and it just made me never ask why after that. You don't have to ask why because, they said it's not a punishment, it's a consequence. And, some of your stories that you went through, you went through such a humbling experience. There was a few, one losing all your sense of security, your finances. I think, did you lose your passport too? If I'm not.
The only thing that I had was, the only thing I had was my passport, and okay. After I got a visa from Indonesia, I had essentially no money left,
Yeah, that was, here you are in another country. You were barely speaking the language. I remember that you had your 2 friends there with you and your brother with you to be the interpreter for the first couple weeks. So that was pretty neat to see how then, okay, that was it. You were pretty much on your own after that. The part that really touched me, Jake, I do a lot of channelings, and I've dealt with, over the last 10 years, a lot of young adults that have crossed over, and I channeled for their parents, and that's how I got to understand this specific thing that I'm going to bring up that I feel is very important. And it's the prescription medication thing. I when I started reading your book, I was so touched that you put that in there because it showed, my feeling, and there are articles on my website about it, of what I feel these young people have wanted me to say on their behalf. But you have survived what I call the anti-epidemic kind of thing. And, they've told me what it does to the energy field and how it numbs them and it doesn't allow them to feel. And in your book, you constantly do reaffirm how you felt things, or you felt this and you felt, and even when you were with the shaman, how you went through those emotions. And just from your perspective, now being clear of all that, is there anything you can share? Because I do have a lot of listeners that are touched by that situation, whether they've lost a young adult in their family, and very young, ages of like 12 to 28 are usually the age group that I see that in. Anything you can share on that about being away from it, and maybe do you feel it really made you feel again? You could speak of this firsthand.
Oh, absolutely. I thought that was funny that you talked about it not being able to feel, because absolutely, it's I think it's an interesting terminology kind of that I coined for prescription drugs, and it's almost an anti-associate from the world, from your feelings, from your emotions. Where, then it became okay to go through the patterns of life, because I wasn't really even feeling that I was in this passionless pattern. And really, what I think it boils down to, there's substance abuse of a myriad of categories, not just drugs, but everything from television to food, and for all ages. To me, that's, filling the deeper void of living a life without meaning, a life without some uncertainty, without some chance involved in it. That we're living such a certain life I'm living this life where I would wake up every day. I knew exactly what I was going to do every day. I was going to wake up, then I was going to go study subjects I didn't like out of a textbook. I was going to memorize them and then have a test on them, which left no room for creativity. Then I was going to go play basketball for 3-4 hours, going to eat dinner, then go to bed and do it all over again. I had this certainty in my life all the time, and I think certainty is one of the biggest blocks to freedom. And when that happens, we're looking for some type of way that we can numb the certainty that we feel. And so, to me, I think what allowed me to be able to feel again, you wrote about so much about me being able to feel again, and a lot Into the Wind for me is about stepping into, feel our intuition. And I think that happened is because I put myself in such a vulnerable, uncertain space while I was traveling. And I think it reconnected me once again because I had stepped away from so much of the certainty that is really available.
Mm-hmm.
I think also we're looking for a little bit of comfort because most of us are living the most dangerous thing of all, and that's to accept a false version of ourselves, of our desires, of our wants, just to fit in.
Well, that says a lot, and to fit in, and it's like, what is fitting in? And I think what I've learned along the way in my communication is the greatest thing they teach is that we are here to express, be creative, and to be in the essence of love. And your book, you're always mentioning love, and you're not afraid to say God, and you're speaking from your heart. And we've gotten so out of touch of that feeling that it is natural, it is simple, it is love, and we got to love who we are, and we got to live in our passion. And your journey clearly brought you to to do that. I think you were living it along the way, and then it's bursting now, and now this is the fruits of your labor, as they say. Interesting in the book about your little cliff diving there you did. That was quite an experience. Like how I put it, cliff diving.
Yeah.
That was pretty, as you read about that experience, you really can feel your fear, and you're such a good writer. I really, honestly, you feel like you're in the adventure. I don't even know what to call it. It is like an adventure. It's a true story. It's adventure. It's spiritually led. It's raw. It's so truth. And I know that when people read it, they'll feel that. And never that you're ever too young. That's something that I think is so important to point out, with you is, when my son, I told you, I said, I want you to check this book out, and he's 13 and he started reading it, and a few days later he came in, how old's this dude, Mom? I said, that dude is 21.
What's so funny is I was actually reading today. I just wrote my blog today was about excuses and not quitting. One I haven't posted, but one I just written. And I was doing some research, kind of looking into the most common excuses that we have that hold us back from living a life of meaning or a life of our dreams. And I feel in turn that often leads us to these unhealthy habits such as pills or drinking or unhealthy relationships. I call them recyclable relationships, where we're looking for something from someone and we don't get it, so we go to the next thing and the next thing. And I saw some really interesting things, like, Mozart was 6 when he wrote his first symphony. Anne Frank was 12 when she wrote The Diary of Anne Frank. Steve Jobs was 21 when he became a millionaire. There's so many people that are young that have stepped beyond the limitation of age, and equally so, there's so many people who have also been quote unquote old and not let it limit them as well, such as Nelson Mandela being 76 when he got elected to be the president of South Africa. So I think that age is really can be a very big excuse in our lives.
That's a great point. And, energy knows no age or time. And, again, something I've learned through the channelings is there's no time or space. You can channel through, a phone, the Skype, it doesn't matter, in person. And so age is expressed. Everyone is energy. We are energy, so we have to express ourselves. And, I think more so than ever, we're so accelerated in this intention is we're wired to express. And no matter where we are, one of the things, change our minds will change our world, because it is our thoughts and our emotions that are equaling the manifestation and the conditions around us. So we have to begin with what we think and feel. And, I know that in a lot of things that you speak of, that, once you started moving on and into these experiences and what you would think and what you would feel, and, you tuned into such simple things like listening to the birds, and, you just spoke of it over and over, things that you went through. And I don't know, I guess I can't say enough about what I went through as I read the book, and that you're here to tell the story in the physical, so for so many generations to come. My son had a few questions. Would you mind if I put them out?
I would love that.
All right, where did I put them in all my notes? Wait, they're here. Don't go away, Jake. Wait, here they are. Well, the one question was, why did you write this book?
I wrote this book because inside of us, there's this thing. This thing is called destiny. And destiny says that we're here for a reason, that our existence is no fluke of nature, and that when we are a willing instrument of a purpose that we recognize as a significant one that can touch other people's lives, that's where the true joy of life is. That how many of you listening, a rhetorical question, have something or have had something within them that they feel compelled to share? And when I fell off the cliff in Indonesia and I saw my whole life flash before my eyes, I realized a few things. One, that when this life ends, we're going to wonder if we ever really lived it. And two, I realized that we don't need to go around the world. You don't need to do anything except for be here now with the opportunities that are here now. Your ability to influence somebody's life now and make somebody smile now, that's all here now. And most of us don't even realize that, because as soon as we wake up, we got to go here, then we got to go do this, then we got to do that, and the cars are going and the horns are going. Mm-hmm. And I knew that if people realize this, that this could change people's lives. And I feel that when we know that we have the opportunity to change somebody's life, we have to capitalize on that opportunity. We have to seize that opportunity. And so often people talk about, to me, well, how do I resolve inner conflict? I have inner conflict and all this negative self-talk. And I say, what do you love to do? For instance, someone says, well, I love drumming. It's my favorite thing. And it's the one thing I love to do. I say, well, are you drumming? No, I'm not drumming. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't get rid of your inner conflicts about not doing what you want to do unless you start doing it. And I knew that if I had this thing inside of me that was calling me, and I never answered it, it was going to keep calling, and it was going to always weigh on me. And so it was this sense of responsibility.
Mm-hmm. And then you are responding to your abilities. Someone told me that once. When I said, well, how do I go back, and when I've done meditation studies somewhere, and I said, well, how do I go back and, help others do this? He said, you're going to respond to your abilities, not let it be your responsibility. And I went, ooh, I felt that. Makes sense, though. It takes the weight off your shoulders, and you're responding to your ability as who you are, and you feel it. You feel it in your passion. You brought up Indonesia, and I had written a little note to myself to ask you about the necklace that was given to you. Now, was that by the guy that helped you off the cliff?
This was by Johnny, who ended up being the one who saved my life.
Yes, that's what I thought. Okay. That was interesting, the necklace story. There was a lot of emotion in that and the energy that you carried with you. And it's just amazing to watch how through that experience, the two of you, that bond, was just, you could feel it when you wrote it. You could just feel him want to give to you. You know, he didn't even look at it like that was enough. You know what I mean? I think you know what I'm saying when I say that. It was more than enough for you, but he wanted to give you that energy to carry and that love that, you know, was the bond. And that was so neat. And I don't know, beautiful stories, one after the other. So my son also asked, what made you go to these places? I think you kind of answered that. You felt into it. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I'm going to give you that one all the way there.
Well, the entire journey of Into the Wind to me is about going beyond the logic of the mind, the rationality of the mind. That, yes, logic and rationale does play an important role in our lives. However, logic and rationale, I feel, is also one of the main inhibitors to us following our heart, to following our dreams. And I wanted to follow my intuition. I wanted to go beyond that. And so it was simply following the signs, and specifically, largely why I spent time in third world countries was simply because I wanted to experience a type of culture, a type of way of living that I knew wasn't something available in first world countries, such as this value of friendship where one is willing to jump off after a cliff after me, and they don't really even know me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's I mean, what are the words, right, for that moment when someone doesn't even think twice to go there and do that for you. It's human, you know, the human compassion, and then there's the power of the oneness and the spirit's compassion. And I think the human would stop and think, just because it's humanness, but the spirit just is this force of power in nature that, you know, will jump off the cliff, or will lift the car, or will, you know, and nowadays we can look on the news and see these acts of, you know, heroism and helping one another. It's just that beautiful thing. My son was wondering what you could tell 13-year-olds his age to help them when they just don't understand life.
So I ran a workshop in Portland on tour. I just got back from a 2-month book tour, and I ran a youth workshop. And one of the questions that I usually ask is, what would have to happen 1 year from now in order for you to look back and say it was your most successful, your most fulfilling year yet? That seems to register a lot with older people. And with younger people, I asked that one day, and a child raised his hand, and he was about 13 or 14, and he said, I just really want to share right now with the rest of the kids out here what I put down. He said, I really want to write a book. And the question that I want most of the young people to understand is, what makes you feel like yourself? I live in this world where everyone wants to make me feel, this is what the kid was saying, I live in a world where everyone wants me to feel like something other than myself. They want me to be something or do something. And when I write, I feel like myself. I feel that it's so important for young people to just find what it is that makes us feel like ourselves. I feel that that's why we resort to prescription drugs, or that's why we resort to excessive drinking of alcohol, or too much food, or too much television. It's because we haven't found something that makes us feel like ourselves. And I feel that that's a very important question to ask. What makes me feel like myself? You know, asking the right questions. We're usually asking questions, why doesn't anything work out for me? And the mind says back, because you're stupid. And instead asking different questions. What is it that makes me feel like myself? And when we can find that's something that most people never find in their whole life. That's what it means to have a passion, to have a dream, to be feeling like yourself.
Yeah. Wow, that's nice. Nicely put, and I'm looking for, I hope he's watching right now, but if not, he will. He'll get that answer. It was beautiful. Your charities, I think we should talk about those and you know, how your journeys have inspired these charities. Is there anything you can share with us on those?
Oh, absolutely. You know, well, I'm really excited to be able to head back to Guatemala ultimately. I met a shaman there for the viewers. I met a shaman there, and he changed my life. And he had a brother. His brother's name was Edwin. Well, Edwin had a child last year. His child's name is actually Jake. That's my name. His name is Jake Oxlaw Gomez, and they call him the Gringo de Guatemalateca, the white Guatemalan. And so that was kind of one of the most beautiful things that's happened with me with the involvement of, I guess, one of my causes, and that is to, I believe that the world will change when everyone has the basic necessities that will allow them to come into their power. So my brother and I built basically an orphanage Mayan school. It's not a Western school. It's a school that's teaching them how to reconnect with their power, with their roots, with who they really are. And so we built one out there, and now what I'm doing with the proceeds of my book is I'm going to continue to sponsor children out there, as well as my goal is to build a school in Indonesia, where my life was saved by these locals. And so I carry this necklace with me that you spoke of earlier with me all the time to remember why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing. Because these kids in Indonesia, they sleep outside and they don't have anything. Their parents send them to the tourist islands from little small villages on other islands in order to find work, but most of them don't even speak English and they don't have the money to buy textbooks, so they sleep outside. And it's so beautiful to see that these kids are still happy, that right now it's a choice all the time, whether we're going to be empowered or disempowered, happy or not happy. And so the charity, the causes that I'm involved in is to really restore a lot of the dignity and power that's been lost through so many people that are under the poverty line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
there's a subtle kind of unconscious discord in the consciousness of humanity between classes between social classes that I don't think we're aware of, and that's, these people are wondering, why don't people care about me? And the answer, of course, isn't to give everyone food all the time and then they're dependent on us, but it's teaching them to be self-reliant, teaching them to be sustainable, and on the other hand, people just want to see that somebody cares about them. Even, here us in the Western world is how beautiful it is when somebody gives you flowers or when somebody just calls to let you know that they love you, what that does to our spirit. Mm-hmm. And so that's really my aim.
Well, that's really beautiful. And, you talk a lot about the smile. And my coworker, she works with me at my center, she has a class called The Inner Smile, and it's really cute. So when she heard about you and started reading about you and your smiles and all that, and it was like, she was like, oh my God. So she was really, excited to be here tonight. Her name is Christine. Christine, did you have any questions for Jake? I wasn't sure if you did.
Well, like you just mentioned about the smile, and I always teach everyone that a simple gesture of a smile can change your whole day and someone else's whole day. And so I, too, like to wake up with a smile. The first thing I do before I get out of bed is I smile. I smile at myself. I smile at the day. And it changes my whole attitude for that day, and that's what I took to with Jake, is just, he's always smiling. You're always smiling, Jake. So, yeah.
We love your smile.
Yes.
Over here at Inner lately.
Yeah.
There was miracles. I love when you said miracles are normal. Oh, my gosh. Are they ever? So anything you want to add on that? Because, you pretty much said it.
Absolutely.
That they're not something just that happen once in a while, or if you're, begging, they're natural. Anything more you want to share on that? I thought that was so important.
Well, absolutely. It's if we really stop for a second and we just think about what's happening in our life, a miracle is essentially wonder. It's marvel. and how many things are unexplainable, that we're on this planet, this rock, flying through space. We know of no other planets, civilizations like this that exist, like this, that's a miracle in and of itself, that there's this life here. And then we have this giant gas that we call sun that rises every single day. It's the only reason that we're alive. And it's giving life to the trees, it's giving life to us, it's turning the sky on in the daytime, and it's turning it, quote-unquote, off at night. And it's a miracle to me that most of us don't even realize, because as soon as we're up, then we're off to the day, and then we have this to do, and then we have that to do. And it's amazing that we go to sleep every night. Our body breathes for us. It digests our food for us. What's amazing is that we have this innate greatness, this capacity to do so much good, the same or more as other people that are our social heroes, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Anne Frank, Mother Teresa. And today, we can reach everyone in the world in a week. It doesn't take a long time. And so it's a miracle to me that we have this opportunity to truly leave a mark in the world and improve the world. And so this is all a miracle to me, that we're able to share on 2 other parts of a country through holding this little plastic device in our hands. We can talk to each other, and other people can hear it. And it's all just a miracle, that we don't even know where our thoughts come from, or how powerful we really are. That's wonder. That's marvel.
Well, that's it. Embrace the miracles that are around you. Just look around, and everything you're doing is part of it, and yeah, nice. What do you want to say, like, to anyone, they're sitting there right now and they're like, well, the I can'ts, or I don't know how's, and, you talk a lot about just the basic tools to know how to feel the dignity and maybe that love inside, or that power inside, and to feel love and to feel cared for. And I think that unleashes a lot in people in that exchange. And, sometimes you just got someone who really just can't seem to get out of their own way. And I personally would say read the book. I would say read your book, because it will.
Which you can get on Amazon.
Which you can get on Amazon. And your website, too, jakeducey.com. Let's give a shout out to that. I don't know, is the book strictly Amazon, or can you get it on the website, too?
You can get it on the site, but I think the best place to do that is Amazon, for price and for the effectiveness of shipping and such.
I hear you.
But what I would say to somebody who is living like that is, everything is a risk. Everything is a risk. It's a risk to wake up out of bed and do the same thing we've always done. It's a risk to step into the unknown. We have this conception that there's this thing called safety, there's this thing called security, and then there's this other thing that's called a risk. It's that there's 2 categories, but that's not true. Everything's a risk, You can die going to sleep tonight, so is it a risk to go to sleep? No, it's just something that we're supposed to do. And we often ask ourselves, well, what's the worst that could happen? And then we go through our head, well, the worst that could happen is if I go talk to that person, they're going to say no to me. If I try this, I'm going to fail, and I'm going to look stupid, and it's going to look bad. I'm going to waste my whole time. And we go through this whole thing, and we start to feel these experiences that haven't happened yet. And then we start to say, I can't, it's impossible. I can't do this. I can't do that. And what I invite you to ask instead is what's the best that could happen? What's the best that could happen if I take a step towards my dreams? If I take a step forward, is it possible? And ask yourself these types of questions and draw upon these types of feelings, these types of emotions, because nothing is more dangerous. As I said earlier, nothing is more dangerous than to accept the false version of yourself, than to continuously say that I can't or it's not possible. Jack Canfield, the creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul, was denied by 233 publishing companies before he got his yes, and now he sold 700 million books. Walt Disney was denied by 322 banks before he got the money for Disneyland. Marilyn Monroe was originally fired because they said that she wasn't beautiful enough to be a movie star. You know, there's an endless list. And so it's important to remember that right now with Google, with the internet, whatever excuse you have, whether it's your age, you're too old, you're too young, you're not beautiful enough, your body is not healthy enough, you're not creative enough, you don't have enough skills, someone's made it with a level of success or a level of fulfillment that you admire with the same excuse that you have. And so really what it boils down to is what the world champion big wave surfer Laird Hamilton, who wrote the foreword to my book, he said to me, there's no such thing as an excuse. Somebody always has it worse than you. There's no such thing as an excuse. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's so important for us to remember that and ask ourselves, what's the best that could happen? Not what's the worst that could happen, but what's the best that could happen?
Yes, because that in turn, you know, the cells in your body resonate to that, and that opens your magnetic field, and that draws those possibilities. I mean, you know, it's science, it's spirit, it's the truth. It's where the miracles will be daily, and the connections. Hey, Jake, I heard you on a show that I was on prior on interviews, and said, I'm just going to look him up and see if he'll be on my podcast. And you said yes. And if I didn't do that, you wouldn't be here right now. And so I thank you. There was another question I had. Oh, you know, the monk. I love the monk in the book. I mean, do you still, anything you could share about him? I imagine he's probably still with you in your heart. Just the words that you said toward the end, and, you know, the inspiration.
Yeah, I always tell the story, and I always remind myself of something that, I ended my book with 14 days silent meditation for any of the listeners out there. And while I was leaving the monastery, I was conflicted whether I wanted to stay longer or whether I wanted to go, and what I wanted to do, if I wanted to keep traveling or if I wanted to write the book. And a monk came up to me, and he said, are you American? I said, yeah, how'd you know? He said, well, you know, Americans usually are the people that have all that stuff. And he said, sit down right here. So I took a seat, and he looked me in the eyes, and he said, all leaves fall from the tree. Old and young, all leaves fall from the tree. Would you be okay right now with your life, with what you've done, with where you are, if your leaf blew off the tree? That you don't control the wind, you don't control all of life, and you don't know when your life is going to end. Will you be okay with that? And it really struck home with me because I was on the other side of the world. I had this feeling of destiny, this feeling that I had something that I could share with other people. And I was on the other side of the world, away from the people I loved, and away from the world that I believed that I could improve. And so I ask myself this all the time with what I'm doing. If the wind blew, would I be okay with that if my leaf fell off the tree? And I remind myself that when I feel that I'm being lazy or I'm being complacent or I'm complaining. And I feel that it's so powerful to really come to the realization of how short our life is, of how precious our life is. And that we don't have control over how long it's going to last. And the only thing we have control over is what we give meaning to right now, of what we find of importance and what we do about it.
Well, very nice. Is that I take it that's the inspiration of the title of the book, because Into the Wind? I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you that next.
It came up a few times, but yeah, totally. And also, I met a man in Indonesia who used the term of taking a chance on our dreams as stepping into the wind. Well, so it had come up in the last two places that I was, and I didn't have a title, and I had the book done, and I just kept reading it through, and then it just kept popping out at me, wind, and then it kind of emerged from there.
Well, it's more than appropriate. So it takes you into the wind and into the truth of your spirit and the emotions of your spirit. And I think that that's part of, you know, when something like this inspires people. It allows you to come into your own feelings that either you're afraid to think or just didn't give thought to, and you're bringing that out in people, for people, to people, whatever, to touch their own spirit and to get in the wind and let their hair blow and let it grace their face and feel that beauty of life that's really around everyone. We do have a question that's come in, so I'm going to let Christine read the question to you, Jake.
This is from Lori, and she asks, what if I just feel too tired and too overwhelmed with what I have to take care of to even think about me?
So, thank you, Lori. Mike Dooley, I've been listening to his audio tape, Leveraging the Universe, and he talks about that exact same thing. And I just listened to this 12 hours ago, and he was talking about how the first time he came to the realization that his thoughts were creating his life, he was with his girlfriend, and he was young, and he thought it was so awkward that there was these moments of silence and these moments of stillness, and so he wanted to inject some dialogue into these. So just out of trying to fill the space, he just started saying, I'm so tired, and he started saying that for a few days and a few weeks, and eventually, about a month later, when he would be with his girlfriend, she'd always say, why are you so tired? And he's like, I don't know, I'm just so tired all the time. I'm just so tired. And she broke up with him. And he realized that it was all coming from him saying this over and over, habitually. Some steps that we can take. Oftentimes, we have affirmations. I am instant energy. I'm limitless energy. But our affirmations, our I ams become our I wases, because we're creating the world out of a reactive point of view. We look into the world and we see, well, this hasn't happened yet. So then we start telling this story of how the world is rather than how we want it to be, or the vision that we see within ourselves. Your mind doesn't know the difference between something that's real and something that's not real. And so I would invite you to start visualizing yourself with more energy, two-minute visualizations. Your physical senses can be the biggest detriment to living the life you want, or it can be the greatest tool, the greatest force in order to do so. Because either we can allow our physical senses to experience the feelings of these stories we're telling ourselves that are disempowering, or they can do the exact opposite, and we can feel the feelings and see the visions and taste the things of our own imagination. And that's what it essentially means to be a visionary, is that. And, we have the choice at any time to either have a thought that's empowering or disempowering. Other things that we can do is just simple things like a few minutes of meditation, like what we're putting into our body on a day-to-day basis. Making a list when we're overwhelmed of what's happening in our day, of what we have to accomplish. I think really what we're in need so often when we talk about I don't have enough time or this or that, there's too much going on, is that really we don't need more time, we just need better time management. And so making a list of what we need to accomplish. And we see, sometimes I have that experience. I'm like, man, especially with the book out, man, there's so much going on. I don't have time for anything. I have all these people I haven't called back. And sometimes I have my voicemail box gets full, and I'm like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. There's so much going on. And then I decide before I go to sleep, I'm going to make my schedule for the preceding day. And so I write everything out, and I put everything out on paper, and I see I only have 5 hours of things to do. And I sit there scratching my head, and I'm done with everything on my list by 12 o'clock, and I'm like, well, I still have probably 8 more hours, so I'm going to go to bed. And I start wondering, well, what am I going to do now? I have all this free time. And things are way less daunting when we put them down on paper and we create some organization to it. So those are a few things that hopefully you can do, Lori, that can better create time management for you. And I invite you to tell the story of your world from your imagination and not from what your past is. You know, Fernando, the shaman at the beginning of my book, says that a fire doesn't burn by past ashes, only by new wood and new fuel. So, you know, what are your present moment thoughts, your present moment beliefs, the new things you're going to create? And, you know, the question that I leave is something that Wayne Dyer says, can a boat be driven by its wake?
Well, that says it right there. Well put, Mr. Ducey. So where is, and I hope this helps, Laura, was that her name?
Lori.
Thank you, Lori. I want to put a shout out to your Daily Ducey that I believe is found either on YouTube, or do you go to your site for that? I've been finding it on YouTube.
Yeah, you go to YouTube and you can just type in my name, Jake Ducey. I also post it on my Facebook.
Daily Ducey. It's great. It's a video clip of Jake. I don't know if you do them daily or if you do them, you know, a few a week or what.
I do them at least 5 days a week.
Awesome. They're awesome. They're inspiring and really good. So we have another question?
Well, I think I actually saw one of that, and it was with a video, and I saw Jake with another woman who does a podcast, and he was standing on his own 2 feet, stomping around, screaming about what he wants. And
it was incantations. That's another thing that you can do.
I loved that. Loved it.
That's too crazy.
Yeah.
Another thing, Lori, and anyone else listening, is I sometimes I don't share it just because I think some people think it's really weird, but I do incantations. I learned it from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins talks about the difference between an affirmation. An affirmation is standing in the garden and saying, I want these weeds to go away, I want these weeds to go away. But the weeds aren't going to go away. So we have to change our physiology. Our physiology is basically our set, habitual, emotional, energetic, vibrational pattern. It's a set emotional way that we're standing, the way our body position is, and generally the way our emotions are. So an incantation is involving your whole body because, again, your mind doesn't know the difference of what's real and what's not real. So when I go on my way to events, last night I had a speech, the whole speech on the way there, I was screaming at the top of my lungs and moving my whole body and saying, I now command my subconscious mind to help as many people as possible today with the skill, humor, bravado, whatever it takes. Tony Robbins says often to himself, I have limitless and infinite energy, and he invokes his whole body, his whole emotions in it, and thus you're changing your whole energy field instead of just the thoughts that are going through your head. And the more you do it, maybe the first time not so much, maybe the second time not so much, if you do that 15 times in a row, even for 30 seconds, you're going to put yourself into a new state.
That's right, and that's what I loved about
Move
that.
your body, involve all senses.
Exactly.
Everything involved. Jake, I can't believe our hour is almost up. Is there anything you want to put out? Any book signings coming up? I mean, it is the internet, so anywhere that you're going to be, we could have listeners if you want to put it out there.
Well, I just want to invite people to head to my Facebook, which is my name, Jake Ducey, D as in David, U-C-E-Y. And I post daily blogs, but then video blogs as well. And I hope people go to Amazon and get my book, Into the Wind. And just what I want to leave with people is this, something that somebody had shared with me. And in the 70s, they did a study at Berkeley. They took clinically depressed patients, whether they're suffering from extreme fatigue or just couldn't get out of bed, and they had them, 20 of them, stand in front of a mirror for 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, and simply smile. Yeah. That's all they had them do, smile for no reason. At the end of the 21 days, all of them reported they had withdrawn their symptoms of clinical depression. Right now, you can smile. Right now, I hope everyone listening, Lori and everyone else, just take 5 seconds and just exaggerate a smile in your mouth right there. And when you do that, you feel your energy shift. You can feel that new emotion coming through. That's life. That's the mountaintop Martin Luther King was talking about. The point of view that creates that I didn't make you smile, nothing around you made you smile, that you made that choice. And at each moment, you have the choice of how you want to feel.
That's right.
Very nice. Well, I hope everyone listening Smiles. We're all
Yes.
smiling. The girls at Inner Lately really love you, Jake. Tiffany, Christine, and Beth. We love you, Jake Ducey. We
Thank
hope
you.
to have you back. We'll keep in touch and just let me know what's going on, and we'd love to have you back sometime.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for being with us, and
Thank you.
God bless and miracles every day.
Yes.
Thank you. God bless.
All right. Thank you, Jake.
Shout
Yeah. No words. The inspiration that, All right. Do we all remember he is 21?
Yeah, 21.
Hello. Just saying.
And he speaks so well. And
Yeah. Get the
I-
book. I'm telling you. And it's available on Kindle, too. I downloaded it. And so we got some shout-outs that we got to do. Our friend that we sent some light to last week, Ryan Hamburg, they're going to have the Ham Jam Amazing Rays, Ryan Hamburg. And this is going to be at the American Legion, Sunday, June 30th at 12 p.m. There'll be music. There'll be raffles. There'll be lots going on. Let's go support Ryan. Help him out during this time. The Amazing Rays, and you can find that on Facebook. Okay, Amazing Rays for Ryan Hamburg, owner of Amazing Grace Tattoo Parlor. And we have what was our other shout out?
Oh, let's see. Well, we have Inner U's 1 year anniversary, June 9th.
Next
It's
Sunday.
been, woohoo, 1 year celebration. From 1 to 4, we have music by Diana Madeira. We have catering by Nikki Legat.
Meat the balls.
Yes, you like the meatballs. And then, so we have the Inner U 1 year anniversary celebration, June 9th. We'd love to have you come down and help celebrate with us. Mention
Inner Lately and get 10% off your when you sign up for your appointment, service, whatever. And that's going on. And what else?
And let's see. Oh, and this Friday we have Geneva's Night Out. It's a local event that they've been doing every Friday night, and it's to get the community to support local businesses. And I will be actually offering readings at Om Yoga, and that's on 78 Castle Street in Geneva. We will have live music by Darwin, and featured artist is Sherry Rain. And they also have local artists at every local business that's involved in the Geneva's
Everyone
Night
should
Out.
be out supporting.
Yes, local businesses.
Stop in at Om Yoga and get a reading by Chris.
Yes, yes. I will be there Friday, and again, we will Sunday. We will be celebrating Inner U's 1 year celebration.
This Sunday,
Yes, please join us.
Geneva, New York,
Yes.
And a shout-out to Women to
yes.
Rock.
Yes, and we have Women's Right to Rock. That will be happening in People's Park in Seneca Falls, New York. I am still looking for local artists who would like the chance to display and sell their artwork of anything that they do, whether it's handcrafting or painting, anything. You can email me at christinelegat@yahoo.com, subject line WR2R. But, and it's a 3-day event. It's Women's Right to Rock, and it's over 30 women-fronted bands, and it's a awesome event.
I am so looking forward to it.
Yes.
I'll be leading meditation.
And that's right.
mornings.
Beth will be leading meditation at Saturday at 11 o'clock, and then on Sunday at 11:44. So please join us. Please come out for the morning meditation with Beth Lynch and enjoy all of the local bands. We have bands from all over New York and Pennsylvania. We have a lot of women coming in, a lot of talented women coming in to perform. And it's
guys,
a free
you
event.
are welcome.
And men and women, children. It's
You're
kid
just not
friendly.
taking the stage.
Yes,
that's all.
no, you have to be a female fronted band to join our stage. So, yes, thank you.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Yes.
Family friendly.
Oh, it's family
Yes,
friendly.
family
Yes.
friendly. Bring the
yes,
kids.
for all
Yes,
ages.
yes.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
I think we had a great show, Jake Ducey. Please go out and get into the wind. I'm telling you, when I was reading the last page, I was like, it's not over now, is it? And then, I kind of reread and I went, it's over, Next, Jake,
Yeah.
book 2. Yeah, he was
No,
great,
he's
inspiring
awesome,
for all
amazing.
ages. And again, I can't stress, he's 21-year-old right now. So you imagine he went
Wow.
on these experiences at least probably a couple years maybe ago. So what more can we say? And next week we have on another guest, and her name is Kate McHugh. And it is, it's not next week, but it's June 18th or 19th. It's my Tuesday. Yeah. And she is author of the book Ugly, A Story of a Bullied Girl. And you can go to Kate McHugh, MACHUGH, KateMcHugh.com, and check her out. And it's on bullying, so come on, everyone, get your kids, sit down, listen to this, and remember, these podcasts are recorded and available on FingerLakes1.tv, so you can listen to Jake's inspirational story, get your teens, get them listening, and again, the next podcast, June 18th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Kate McHugh will be calling in ugly story of a girl bullied. Mm-hmm. And I think that'll be a very inspiring and emotional story as well. Let's, stop the bullying. Mm-hmm. So, everyone, I'd like to thank you so much for being here. We will take some questions the next show for sure. We'll take get on Interlately page. Send questions. I can answer them, or we'll address them on the air for you too. And let's be one together. And everyone, tonight before you go to sleep, if not right now, put on a smile. Tomorrow morning, smile. Start your day.
That's right. Thank you. Yay. You know what? I do have actually one question here.
Too late?